Your cat was asleep, or resting, or simply still, and then you walked in. And before they did anything else, before they came to you or called out or moved toward you, they stretched. A long, slow, full-body stretch. Front paws extended as far as they will go. Back arched. Sometimes a yawn accompanying it. The whole thing taking several deliberate seconds before they finally looked up at you or began to move. You probably smiled. You may have assumed they were just waking up. You filed it under the charming, unexplained behaviors of a creature that has always been slightly mysterious, and you moved on. But that stretch was not a coincidence. It was not the random timing of a cat who happened to be stiff at the moment you arrived. It was, according to what behavioral science has found about feline communication and social signaling, one of the most unambiguous expressions of comfort and trust that a cat is capable of producing. And most owners walk past it every single time. Let us talk about what is really happening. 1. The stretch is a vulnerability display, and they chose to show it to you. To understand what the stretch means, you first have to understand what it costs. A cat in mid-stretch is a cat at their most physically exposed. Every muscle is extended. Every joint is occupied. The body is elongated in a posture from which it cannot immediately defend itself, cannot immediately flee, cannot immediately do anything except complete the stretch and return to a state of readiness. For an animal whose nervous system is built around the capacity to respond to threat in a fraction of a second, choosing to be in that posture is not a neutral act. In the wild, a full-body stretch in an open space is a behavior that only happens when the environment has been assessed as completely safe, when no threat has been detected in any direction, when the nervous system has given the body permission to occupy space in a way that removes, temporarily, all of its defensive options. Your cat stretched when they saw you, not before you arrived, not in an empty room, when they saw you specifically, which means that at the moment they processed your presence, their nervous system did not read, alert, incoming stimulus, prepare. It read, known, safe, familiar. No preparation required. The stretch is the body acting on that assessment. It is, in the most direct biological sense, your cat's nervous system saying, "You are here, and I do not need to be ready." 2. It is a greeting, but not the one most people recognize. Most cat owners know the obvious greetings. The trill, the vertical tail, the head bump against the leg. These are the greetings that announce themselves clearly. They are easy to read because they are directed at you, toward you, unmistakably about you. The stretch greeting is different. It is not directed at you so much as performed in response to you. It is a social signal that emerges from the body rather than being sent toward another. And because of this, most owners misread its timing as coincidental rather than communicative. Ethologists studying cat social behavior have documented stretch behavior as a specific social display in feline communication. It occurs with highest frequency in the presence of familiar, preferred individuals, and is rarely observed in environments where the cat is uncertain or in the presence of unfamiliar people or animals. The body does not elongate in vulnerability when the nervous system is on alert. The stretch as greeting is a behavior that can only emerge from a specific internal state, and that state is produced by a specific kind of presence. Yours. A cat who stretches when a stranger enters the room would be exhibiting a response that contradicts everything their nervous system was built to do. What you are seeing when your cat stretches as you arrive is the behavioral fingerprint of a bond, specific, involuntary, and produced by the recognition of a particular person whose presence has been filed, after long accumulated experience, under completely safe. 3. The yawn that sometimes accompanies it is not tiredness. Many owners notice that the full-body stretch is often accompanied by a yawn, a wide, jaw-stretching, held for a moment yawn that looks, on the surface, exactly like a cat who is still half asleep and not particularly interested in the arrival of anyone. The yawn, in this context, is not tiredness. And understanding why requires a brief look at what yawning actually is in mammalian biology. Yawning is associated with state transitions, the shift from sleep to wakefulness, the shift from low arousal to higher arousal, the shift between different neurological states that the brain uses to recalibrate its alert level. And in a social context, among animals with complex social structures, yawning carries an additional function that has been documented across multiple species. It is a signal of non-aggression. a demonstration that the mouth is being used for something other than threat display. In cats, the yawn in the context of greeting has been observed specifically in interactions with preferred social partners. It is the body communicating, at the moment of the state transition triggered by your arrival, that the transition is a comfortable one, that the shift from resting to social contact is not an escalation but a continuation of ease, that the arrival of this person is not an interruption of safety but an extension of it. And if this is reshaping the way you see those quiet arrival moments right now, go ahead and subscribe. Every video on this channel is built around what the science actually says, not what we assume. 4. The timing tells you everything. There is a detail in the stretch greeting that most owners never stop to examine, and it is the most informative part of the whole behavior. The stretch happens after your cat registers your presence, not before, not during the approach, not as a general midday behavior that happened to coincide with your arrival. Specifically after the moment of recognition, after their nervous system has processed the incoming sensory information, identified it as you, and produced the assessment that triggers the response. This sequencing matters because it rules out coincidence. A cat who stretches randomly throughout the day and happens to be mid-stretch when their owner arrives is not showing a greeting. A cat who is still, who notices you, and who then stretches in response to that noticing is showing something specific. Research into feline sensory processing has established that cats identify their bonded person through multiple simultaneous channels. Sound, specifically the frequency and rhythm of your footstep and voice. Scent, which their olfactory system processes continuously and which your presence introduces into the environment before you are visible. And visual recognition, which confirms what the other senses have already flagged. By the time your cat appears to notice you, they have often already known you were coming. The stretch that follows visual confirmation is the culmination of a recognition process that began before you entered the room. The stretch, time to your arrival, is your cat's nervous system completing a sentence that began the moment they first detected you. 5. Not every cat does this with everyone. Who gets the stretch matters. If you live with multiple people, pay attention to something specific over the coming days. Watch whether your cat stretches when different people in the household arrive, and notice whether the behavior is consistent or selective. For most cats in multi-person homes, the full greeting stretch is not distributed equally. It appears most reliably, most completely, and most immediately in response to the arrival of the person the cat is most bonded to. Other familiar people may receive smaller versions, abbreviated gestures, the stretch equivalent of a brief nod rather than a full embrace. Or they may receive a different greeting entirely, a vocalization, a brief approach, a head bump. But the full, slow, elongated stretch, particularly when it is accompanied by a yawn and a slow subsequent orientation toward you, tends to be reserved. This selectivity is itself information. It tells you that the behavior is not a reflexive response to any human presence, but a relationship-specific one. The stretch does not emerge from your cat seeing a person. It emerges from your cat seeing their person. The distinction is not subtle from the inside of the cat's nervous system, even if it has been invisible from yours. 6. The stretch after waking near you means something specific. There is a version of the greeting stretch that occurs not at your arrival, but after your cat has been sleeping near you and wakes to find you still there. They open their eyes, register your presence, and stretch. Fully, slowly, without urgency. This version carries its own specific meaning, and it is, if anything, even more significant than the arrival stretch. A cat who has slept near you has already performed the most profound trust act in their behavioral vocabulary. They have been completely unconscious in your proximity. Every protective instinct offline. The entire vulnerability of deep sleep placed in the context of your presence. And they woke, and you were still there, and their body responded to that continuity with the stretch. It is the physical expression of a nervous system that expected safety and found it. That placed a prediction, based on everything it has learned about you across the full length of your relationship, and discovered the prediction was correct. You were there when they closed their eyes, and you were there when they opened them. And the stretch that follows is the body's response to a confirmed prediction, to the particular ease of a world that remains, in this small but significant way, exactly what it was supposed to be. 7. How to receive the stretch. Knowing what the stretch means changes what the right response looks like. Most owners, In the moment, do one of two things. They ignore it, moving past it as unremarkable, or they rush toward their cat immediately, picking up the moment of the stretch as an invitation for immediate physical engagement. Neither of these receives the gesture fully. And understanding the stretch as what it actually is, a vulnerable display produced by a nervous system in a state of complete ease, suggests a third response. Pause. Let the stretch complete. Let the yawn finish if there is one. Do not rush the moment. Give it the unhurried quality it is offering you. Then, if your cat moves toward you, meet them. If they slow blink after the stretch, slow blink back. Match the register of the communication. Quiet, easy, unhurried. The stretch is your cat beginning a conversation in the softest possible key. The most fitting response is one that continues in the same key. Not louder, not faster, not more than the moment was offering. Simply present to what was just shown you. Available in the particular, unhurried way that a cat who has just displayed vulnerability actually needs you to be. Because what just happened, in those few slow seconds of extended paw and arched back and held yawn, was your cat's nervous system confirming out loud what it concluded about you a long time ago. That you are the kind of presence worth being unguarded around. Worth being seen by, in the full, slow, vulnerable openness of a body that has decided it does not need to be ready. If you watched this and thought of a specific moment, a specific arrival, a specific slow stretch that you have seen dozens of times without fully understanding what you were watching, that moment has changed. Not what happened, what you now know it meant. Every video on this channel begins the same way, with a question most cat owners have never stopped to ask. And then we go looking for the real answer. Not the simplified version, not the comfortable assumption, the actual science, the studies, the behavioral research that takes years to surface and rarely reaches people in a way that feels like a real conversation. That is what we do here every single time. If this video gave you something, hit like, drop a comment, and tell us about the last time your cat stretched when you arrived. And subscribe, because what we are covering next will change the way you see your cat all over again. The more you understand them, the closer you get to something most people spend a lifetime living beside and never fully seeing. And that is always worth staying for.